It began with a soft tapping on the living room window, so gentle it almost blended with the morning breeze. But when Sarah glanced up, her blood ran cold. A huge K9 German Shepherd stood outside, paws pressed against the glass, eyes locked on her with desperate urgency. She gasped and grabbed her husband's arm. They recognized the dog instantly. He belonged to the local K9 unit, the same unit that had searched for their missing daughter for 12 agonizing days. The dog barked sharply, pawing harder, almost pleading. Every tap felt like a message. Their hearts pounded. Why was he here? What had he found? Was this a warning or a miracle? When they finally opened the door, the K9 didn't wait. He spun around and sprinted down the street, stopping only to look back, making sure they followed. And where he led them next turned their faces completely pale. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The house had been painfully quiet since their little girl went missing 12 long days ago. Sarah sat on the edge of the couch, staring at her daughter's shoes, still by the door, when a soft tapping broke the silence. Tap, tap, tap. She turned, expecting a branch or bird, but froze. A large K9 German Shepherd stood outside the window, paws pressed against the glass, eyes wide with urgency, barking once as if demanding their attention. Sarah grabbed her husband's arm, heart pounding. Tom, that's Ranger, she whispered. The same K9 who had searched the woods the night their daughter disappeared. Ranger had never come to their home before. Tom slowly stepped toward the window, confused and startled. Ranger tapped again, harder. This time, his breath fogging the glass. He wasn't acting aggressive. He was acting desperate, like he needed them to understand something immediately. Tom opened the front door cautiously. Ranger didn't enter or bark wildly. Instead, he spun around and took 3 steps toward the street, then looked back, eyes pleading. Sarah felt her stomach twist. It was as if he wanted them to follow him. She stepped outside slowly, the cold air biting her skin. Ranger pawed the ground urgently, then bounded forward a short distance before stopping again. Whatever he wanted to show them, it wasn't far, and it wasn't good. Ranger trotted ahead with sharp, deliberate steps, constantly glancing back to ensure Sarah and Tom followed. The couple exchanged a nervous look, but continued walking, driven by a fearful hope they couldn't shake. The K9 guided them past familiar houses, then toward the wooded trail behind the neighborhood, the same place dozens of officers had searched. But Ranger moved with purpose now, nose low, tail stiff, following a scent he clearly trusted. Something had changed since yesterday. Halfway down the trail, Ranger stopped abruptly and barked once, pawing at a cluster of leaves near an old fallen branch. Tom hesitated before crouching down, his breath caught in his chest. Sarah, look. Buried beneath the leaves was a tiny pink hair clip, sparkling, plastic shaped like a butterfly. Their daughters. Sarah's knees gave out as she lifted it with trembling fingers. This wasn't here before, she whispered, voice cracking. Ranger whined softly, nudging her arm. Sarah stood, gripping the clip like a lifeline. Ranger turned and continued, deeper into the woods, more urgently. Now, the couple followed close behind, adrenaline pushing aside exhaustion. Every tree, every shadow felt heavier than before. The deeper they went, the more Rare's behavior shifted. Ears pricked, pace quickening, tail raised. In alert. He wasn't just tracking a trail. He was leading them towards something. And for the first time in days, they felt the terrifying spark of possibility. Rare's movements grew sharper. The deeper they went into the woods, he stopped sniffing calmly and began pulling ahead with sudden bursts of urgency, weaving between trees as if chasing fragments of a fading trail. Sarah and Tom hurried after him, branches scraping their arms, breaths turning ragged. Every few steps, Ranger paused to bark sharply. 3 quick barks, the exact signal he used on search missions when danger or evidence was near. Sarah felt her stomach twist painfully. At a narrow bend in the trail, Ranger froze, ears stiff, eyes locked on a patch of disturbed leaves. Near a tree stump, Tom crouched, heart pounding, and brushed the leaves aside. A small piece of torn fabric lay underneath a corner of their daughter's favorite yellow dress. Sarah's breath hitched as she pressed it to her chest. Ranger wed, pacing in frantic circles, before suddenly stopping, nose pointed, toward a darker, overgrown stretch of forest they had never searched. He took off again, not running wildly but moving with terrifying precision, like he knew exactly where to go now. Sarah and Tom pushed through thorns and tangled brush, barely keeping up. Rare's barking grew sharper, echoing through the trees. The atmosphere shifted, colder, heavier, suffocating. Tom whispered, "This place, it feels wrong." Ranger didn't slow. Instead, he lunged forward toward a hidden path, tail straight, body tense. Whatever lay ahead, the truth was close. Ranger slowed as the trees thickened, approaching an abandoned property, hidden behind overgrown branches and rotting wooden posts. Sarah froze when she saw it. A crumbling shed with shattered windows, its door hanging crookedly. "No, please. No," she whispered, gripping Tom's arm. Ranger approached the entrance with low growls, nose twitching rapidly. He barked twice, sharply, then pawed at the ground as if confirming what Sarah dreaded. This wasn't a random place. Someone had brought their daughter here. Tom stepped closer, heart pounding, scanning the darkness inside. The shed smelled of damp wood, rust, and something disturbingly familiar. Fabric softener, the exact scent of their daughter's favorite blanket. Sarah covered her mouth, stifling a sob. Ranger nudged a spot near the door where the dirt was disturbed. Tom knelt and lifted a small object, a bracelet made from colorful beads, their daughter's initials, spelled across the center. Sarah collapsed to her knees, overwhelmed by terror and hope. Before they could process the discovery, Ranger stiffened suddenly, his ears snapping toward the back of the property. A faint sound, something metallic, something dragging, echoed through the trees. Ranger growled fiercely, positioning himself between the couple and the noise. Tom whispered, Someone's here. Sarah felt her blood run cold. The K9 barked explosively, lunging forward toward a narrow path leading behind the shed. Whatever waited there wasn't just a clue, it was a threat. Ranger bolted down the narrow path behind the shed, his growls deepening as he pushed through tangled branches. Sarah and Tom sprinted after him, adrenaline overpowering their fear. The woods grew darker, the air heavier, as if the forest itself was closing in around them. Every few seconds, Ranger barked in rapid bursts, signaling urgency. Tom's heart hammered in his chest. He's on to something big, he whispered, fighting to keep pace. Sarah could barely breathe. They emerged into a hidden clearing, one the search teams had somehow missed. Rangers stopped dead at the edge, nose pressed to the ground, pacing in tight circles. Tracks fresh, ones footprints of an adult and smaller ones matching a child. Sarah's breath hitched as she covered her trembling mouth. Ranger suddenly jerked his head toward a narrow ravine, barking with explosive force. Tom shouted for help, but the forest swallowed his voice. Time was slipping away. Ranger leapt into the ravine, sliding down the dirt slope. Sarah followed without hesitation, Tom right behind her. At the bottom, Ranger sniffed intensely at a discarded piece of rope and a muddy shoe, their daughter's shoe. Panic surged through Sarah as she held it, tears streaming. Ranger barked again, this time from deeper inside a hollow, echoing chamber. His voice carried one message: urgency. Tom grabbed Sarah's hand. He's close. We have to move now, before it's too late. Ranger dashed into the hollow chamber at full speed, his barking echoing off the damp walls. Sarah and Tom squeezed through the narrow opening, hearts pounding out of their chests. Inside, dim light filtered through a cracked ceiling, illuminating old crates and scattered debris. Then, Sarah saw it. Something small curled behind a wooden pallet. She froze, her breath vanished. Tom whispered her name, voice trembling. Ranger rushed ahead, nudging the tiny figure with desperate whimpers. Sarah fell to her knees, barely able to speak. Their daughter lay there, weak, dirty, trembling, but alive. Her wide eyes shimmered with recognition before tears spilled down her cheeks. "Mommy, Daddy," she whispered, voice thin as air. Sarah wrapped her arms around her, sobbing uncontrollably. Ranger pressed his head against the girl's shoulder, tails shaking with relief. Tom held them both, overwhelmed by gratitude and horror at what she'd endured. Footsteps thundered behind them, officers finally catching up. Flashlights swept the chamber, landing on footprints leading toward a second exit. The officer's face went pale. "Someone was just here," he muttered. "They heard you coming." But none of it mattered now, not compared to the miracle in Sarah's arms. As they carried their daughter out of the hollow, Ranger stayed glued to her side. "Sarah," whispered, "he saved her. He saved all of us." And everyone knew it was